Hey everyone, it's Cap here. This is going to be a video going over all of these Scaldra weapons, how I feel about them, what some of my builds are, what some of other people's builds are, and some things I would change if given the chance. Super quickly before we go into the video, I want to say a super special thank you to my Patreon members. In the Heirloom Tomato tier, we have Trash Goblin, The Law, Jordan, Causelle, and Aminisi. In the Beefsteak Tomato tier, we have TheVoiceApple, MJ, Heathertime, Aonerd, Ak, and 10VY. And in the Cherry Tomato tier, we have Woland, dahrag, Squeeky, Maypul, and Grug. You guys mean the world to me, seriously. Your support is freaking awesome. I love money! Hopefully this video doesn't have too many issues. I am a bit of a zombie when it comes to Mondays. It is just one of those days, but I want to be able to make this for you guys. So, let's get right into it. I'm going to start out with the Purgator, or the Purgator, or the Purgator. Very interesting on the build here, and I'm going to show you how it performs, and you might be able to tell exactly what I'm using, but the damage is definitely not bad. The gas damage might be a little bit weak until we start building things up, and it's going to start proccing for about 100k. Hiccup. But overall, damage is fairly impressive. We are able to hit a couple million or so, depending on if we get lucky. The stagger from the gas bud is a little bit annoying trying to set up headshots, but we have a ton of punch through, which is really cool. And yeah, the guaranteed gas procs from the Purgator or the Purgator will start doing damage the instant that they're spawned, just like every other gas proc, so it is really nice to shoot at a heavy unit in a crowd and just watch all the other enemies disappear. As far as I know, and I could be wrong about this, the Purgator, when it does deal the gas damage when you kill an enemy, it is an instant 10 stacks of gas, and it is based off of the damage of your weapon. So getting those headshot kills with this is very rewarding because it will increase that damage of the gas proc by quite a bit. So 1.2 million. Orange crit there. But yeah, you might be a little confused as to why we're using viral, and I'll go over it in a little bit more in depth once we kill these enemies over here, but I just want to show you how it is against the tankier units. In game, this will definitely feel quite a bit better when it comes to sort of mobbing and clearing things. This originally was supposed to be some kind of grenade launcher, however, they changed it into this like slug sniper rifle type deal, which is pretty cool. But the reason we are running viral damage on this is because primed cryo rounds. This is just a lot of damage for us. This weapon has a ton of base damage, so we want to pump it full of as much base damage as possible. Hence, primed cryo rounds, infected clip, semi-rifle kanonade, and primary deadhead. Now, here's the start of the show. Primary acuity. Primary acuity got nerfed, like really hard, and it sucks that it got nerfed because it was kind of a saving grace for single target weapons to be able to keep up with weapons that have multi-shot, especially AoE weapons running multi-shot. So I don't understand why they nerfed it. If anybody who works at DE happens to watch this video, please, what we should do with primary acuity is change the mod description, make it multiplicative for every weapon. And what it can basically be is on headshot, your crit chance is multiplied by 2.5 or 2 times. Your weak point damage is multiplied by that amount, and that will really help demonstrate that it is a mod worth using over multi-shot. Because right now, primary acuity really feels as though it's only really worth it on like a super tiny subset of weapons, and the Purgator is one of those weapons. I feel as though having the difference between primary acuity and multi-shot is fairly noticeable, especially when it comes to the gas damage, because you're doing more single target damage and it's already at 10 stacks, so it kind of can increase the damage and a lot of nuanced stuff like that. I think that this is probably the best way to run this weapon. But yeah, if any DE dev is watching, primary acuity should be a multiplier for every weapon. Or, how about this, is you can restrict it to non-AoE weapons, and now the acuity mods can only go on weapons that don't have big AoE attacks. So you can't put it on the Ogress or something like that, right? I think that makes a lot more sense to be able to keep it as a multiplier, because losing out on multi-shot is a really big damage multiplier that you're losing out on. You have to make it worth it. 350% crit chance and 350% weak point damage is not worth it, unfortunately. So yeah, after saying that, In this case, it is. In this case, I think, and it feels right to me to run Acuity when it comes to this. But I will really quickly show you what this build operates like with multi-shot as well. You can make your decision. For me, I'm kind of gunning towards Acuity. I think it feels a little bit better. You're going to be able to see over here that the damage just feels a little bit lesser when it comes to multi-shot. You see, we're getting less of those one-shot kills, right? So, kind of, you know... There we go, that was one shot. You can see the proc damage as well is not the highest. I think the gas proc damage we were getting with Acuity was about 100,000. These are going to 26 for some reason, which is very, very weird. Overall, yeah, I think that Acuity just feels better when it comes to the Purgator. You can one-shot these guys. These guys are really tanky. If you didn't know, Exo Gokstads are tankier than Corrupted Heavy Gunners. By a couple million HP, I believe. There is an enemy type in this game that is even tankier than that called Drekar Manic Bombards, and I want to be able to scan those, but I think you scan them from the frickin' Tilregger fight, which is just annoying as hell to do. So I will get it one day, but maybe not soon. Overall, though, I think that the Purgator is really fun. I like it a lot. I would like to see a tiny bit of a fire rate buff on it, because it is a little bit, you know, frustrating, especially because you kind of do want to mod for the primary the primary canonade. So yeah, it's me. Is it going to be level capping anytime soon? Probably, but it's going to need some help. I think it will need a little bit of help. It doesn't have any multi-CO or anything like that. It is additive, which is why Galvanized Aptitude is not on that build. We're just pumping it full of as much damage as we can. So yeah, you weigh your options. I think in terms of feel and, you know, Steel Path content, this is going to be able to handle everything you want it to. Just hit your heads and you'll be okay. The next primary we get is the Jupiter. This thing is actually pretty cool, and compared to the other weapons that we're going to review, I think that the Jupiter is actually pretty good. Once again, is it going to be level capping? Definitely not, unless we give it like a crazy weapons buff setup. But the damage against these enemies right here, especially because they are really tanky units on the Steel Path modifier and they're level 215, which is where most people are going to be playing, this is very impressive damage. So I definitely think that this is worth picking up, especially if you really like the clean rifle aesthetic. A lot of people, their favorite weapons in Warframe are just rifles. They're just nice, you point, you shoot, it does the thing. Maybe it has a secondary fire that does something pretty cool as well. Speaking of secondary fires, we have the Shotgun Blast. Boom! Pretty cool. This thing can do quite a bit of damage. You see over here, I am able to one-shot these guys if I barrel stuff them, which is pretty freaking nice. So definitely a bunch of damage coming out of the shotgun part of this weapon. However, unlike the secondary I'm going to review, the corrosive procs are guaranteed. So this is an instant 10 corrosive procs, which is really, really cool. Definitely super appreciated. If you wanted to, you could actually run this weapon as a dedicated armor stripper by just putting on like 1 or 2 Tau Forged corrosive shards, and you can use the alt fire on this to just bonk, mod for all fire rate, mod for extra multi-shot, and you can instantly armor strip enemies with the secondary fire. So very, very cool that they're guaranteed corrosive procs. Something else that I really appreciate is that the weapon already does corrosive damage as well, which means that you can get corrosive viral heat, which is exactly what I'm running here. The heat DOT is able to chip away at health on top of the fact that it already helps with the initial ramp up of being able to strip enemy armor, and the viral makes enemy health much more susceptible. This will kill Corpus just fine. Like, if you wanted it to kill Corpus even better, what you could do is you could maybe swap out heat for electric or something like that, and then now that DOT is going to be very effective against shields and Corpus in general. But this build, I know for a fact, is, you know, you would initially think it's probably built for Grenier. It's just strong enough to be able to kill Corpus. They're kind of squishy anyways. Definitely big recommend. I think that the Jupiter feels really good. I would like to test it against tankier targets, but I know it would just kind of be a snooze fest at that rate because you'd be shooting forever and ever and ever. This is the build I have on the Jupiter. Fire rate over here specifically because I just really want to increase the amount of time it takes for that charge shot. It does take a lot of time for the charge shot to come out. I would say a very nice buff to get to the Jupiter is just to remove the charge up on the shotgun blast whatsoever, and maybe let us shoot it once every 2 seconds or something like that, or once every 1 second, or even you can go for a little bit of the you can be really cool and make the weapon very comfy and enjoyable, and just not give us a fire rate penalty whatsoever when you shoot the shotgun. It's just a shotgun and a rifle combined. I think that'll help quite a bit when it comes to the usability of the weapon, especially when it comes to the secondary fire being a shotgun blast. But yeah, 17.2% status chance per projectile is very, very nice when it comes to shotguns, and we also have a pretty good multiplier and crit chance. So definitely a lot of damage, 77,000 damage on a shotgun blast compared to the 340 that we get per shot from the primary fire. But yeah, we have Galvanized Chamber, Galvanized Aptitude. We are going to be proccing a pretty decent amount of stage effects, so Galvanized Aptitude feels right in here. We have Prime Shred. If you don't have Prime Shred, I would recommend just replacing this with something like Vial Acceleration, or you can just go with a standard primary speed trigger. Where is my ranked up one? There you go, right here. So basically the same amount of fire, you're just losing out on that punch through. The punch through is really nice because it is technically a single target weapon, so being able to cleave through crowds is really, really nice. I forgot to mention that if you are running up on a crowd and you know they're going to be approaching you, you can just kind of pepper them with a shotgun blast and be able to hit a lot of them with corrosive procs before you even enter the fight. Not to mention is those pellet shotguns are very good at building up your primary crux, which helps you quite a bit. But yeah, Prime Shred, definitely want the fire rate because it is a little bit slow to charge this up. We're running Viral over here on top of a big heat mod. The reason it's a big heat mod and not a small heat mod is because not a lot of people might understand it fully, but basically the higher damage on your weapon, the more likely it is that will proc. So you can see over here, if we hover over the status thing, we can see Viral has a 29% chance to proc and Heat has a 21% chance to proc. If we swap this over to a 60-60 heat mod, even though our status chance increases, the heat weighting goes down, which means we're proccing less heat. Heat is our active DOT, so it's going to be chipping away at enemy health quite a bit. We want to be able to use that as much as we can. So we have a little bit more viral damage than we do heat, but in the sense we are able to proc quite a bit more of it. The polarity over here, I mean, the Exilus is kind of, you can put whatever you want in it. It comes as a V polarity by default, which I think is really annoying because there's really not a lot of V polarity mods. Agile Aim does feel good when you're using it, but realistically you could just go with Vigilante Supplies or Stabilizer or Tactical Reload if you are going to be using it as an armor stripper. I think these are all infinitely better options. I just don't really want to spend the Forma. I've spent so much plat on frickin' Forma. I've probably bought like 1,000 plat worth of Forma and I'm still not done with it. There's a lot of frickin' Forma that goes into these things, not to mention catalysts, you know, weapon adapters, weapon Exilus adapters. That's like 60 plat per weapon on top of the, you know, the 2 to 7 Forma I might burn on it. So yeah. If people are really, really cool and if you have a lot of platinum, please send me Forma. I need it. I need so much Forma, please. I will, you'll get a cute little shout out in my Discord and in the videos, and I'll blow you out back because God, I'm running out, man. I probably spent like 60 Forma in the past couple of days, so it's been brutal. It's been rough. But yeah, Vital Sense, critical delay, just crit chance, yeah, yada yada. The crit damage from the Jupiter is 2.3, which is actually really, really nice, so we do get a very good critical multiplier. The Arcane, very easy pick, primary crux, very good. Not to mention, using the charge shot consumes like 15 ammo, which is quite a bit. Having primary crux makes it so that's not quite as bad, and you can actually use it without needing to reload like 40 times, so very good. On top of the fact, status chance go burr. We want a lot of status chance. The weapon already is kind of making up for some of his lost damage by being, you know, additive CO, so we are proccing a lot of things, and we have the additive CO, so it's kind of taking care of our base damage. We don't really need to have it from an arcane. Now, the Mars. I'm going to show you the build first, specifically because I want to talk about it. This build is from Salt Prime. Is this the super best build in the game? Probably not, but are you going to be doing much with the Mars? No. I'm really disappointed with this weapon. I thought this weapon would be really cool. I think that the Mars looks awesome, like super duper cool. It's just it falls flat in some parts. So I kind of tested it a little bit. I did a little bit of research. I looked up on YouTube to see what other people were doing, because maybe I thought to myself, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong that's not resulting in a lot of damage. No, it's just weak. It's just not great. You know, it says it's like the standard issue pistol for Scaldra, and I'm kind of believing that. You know, maybe it's a lore accurate reason as to why it sucks. Who knows? But yeah, I'm very hesitant to endorse other creators because I know a lot of people can, you know, be very sloppy, right? I definitely don't want to, you know, put a link to a channel of somebody who puts like a quarter of the, you know, effort into content and all they make is like slop videos that are copying pasting other people's builds. However, Salt Prime, very cool. Original builds, especially, you know, the builds that they're putting out are different. It's not just your normal, you know, easy does it, you know, freaking diffusion aptitude, merciless, you know, viral, whatever, right? So very interesting. Not to mention, I think Salt Prime's videos are pretty nice. They're very chill. They're easy to understand. So I'm very willing to shout them out in the description. But yeah, so this is the build for it. I'm going to show you how it works. And yeah, you might want to close your eyes for this because it might hurt your soul a little bit. Oh, let's got rid of my Exogoxide officers. What? Oh, there we go. I see I didn't actually kill them. There we go. Yeah, this thing is gonna... Oh, yeah. It's going up there. You know, one bullet from the Mars is basically, you know, it feels like a... I don't know. Compare this to the Jupiter, this ain't doing it. The reload speed we're getting from secondary, and this arcade conjunction voltage. There we go. Jeez, we're getting a lot of reload speed from that, so it is helping quite a bit because we're going to basically be mag dumping like all the time. But here's the thing: is this is the damage when it's all stacked up, right? Almost 2 magazines to kill an enemy. Like, come on. But here's this. Wow. That's really cool. That's a really strong secondary fire. You know how the Jupiter, you know how the Jupiter doesn't have modded corrosive damage, but it's still able to proc corrosive damage? And you know how the secondary fire does this like cool thing where it has like guaranteed corrosive procs? Yeah, the secondary fire on the Mars that takes 5 years to charge doesn't have guaranteed corrosive damage, and it has a 3-meter AoE. What is this? Why would I ever use this? It is more damage effective to just shoot the gun than use this super big grenade or launcher thing. Come on. Come on. What the charge up too. Maybe I would be inclined to use this in an actual group of enemies if it didn't take 4 years to charge up. Not to mention, the Mars also has a D polarity by default, which means one of two things. Either they want us to put Elementalist in it, its status chance is kind of crappy, so we're going to cross Elementalist off the list, right? They want us to put Galvanized Aptitude on it. Okay, yeah, maybe we can put Galvanized Aptitude on it. We're not proccing that many status effects, right? Maybe, you know, maybe it's not useful in the way that it is on the Jupiter. We can cross that one out. So now we're left with what? Friggin' semi-pistol cannon, right? This. So 300 damage, very cool. I can't mod fire rate. So yeah, I think if you're going to use the Mars, just don't use the secondary fire. It's not worth it whatsoever. The corrosive damage is cool, but seriously, the fact that the primary fire is not able to proc any corrosive damage is really, really disappointing. This sucks. This pistol sucks. I don't think that there's a way to make it good unless you're using Mirage or something like that, but I'm really disappointed with the Mars. I think it looks so cool. This is such a fucking fire design with the needle coming out of the gun and everything like that, and the big, you know, meaty reload like it's a grenade pistol or something like that. Like, it's really cool. Why does it suck? I'm not saying every single weapon that comes out needs to be like super ultra mega fuck you strong, but compared to the Coda weapons, compared to the other weapons that we have, the melee, why does this one have to be the outlier? I don't know. I don't know. Very disappointed with the Mars. But yeah, thank you so much to Sol Prime for kind of saving me the angst and the struggle of needing to figure out what I should put on this build, because I inevitably would have probably wasted a lot of format. I also don't know if you heard that or not, but that's my footrest. That is like super ultra mega squeaky. So that just happened in the background. But yeah, Mars, come on, you're not doing it for me. Now these boys, they're rank 0 because I have 2 different builds. I'm going to show you, don't look, don't look, don't look. I'm going to show you the slop influence build really quickly. This is, yeah, this is like influence slop. This is what every other YouTuber and their mom is going to be like, you should do this to the dual Viciss right now. It's going to do this. Ooh, whoa, oh, crazy damage. Kind of not. Yeah. Now here's the thing, you can mod this for crit. It can be a hybrid weapon. However, the thing is when you have gas, viral, and electric that you're battling between on all your elements, you're gonna have a hard time actually like proccing electric to get melee influence to start. So you're kind of fighting for all these elements, which means you need to use another mod slot to increase the status weighting of electric even more, and now you're kind of stuck. It doesn't feel like as good as an influence weapon as a lot of other things. And comparing this to something like the Okina Prime, really quickly, we just go to Okina and Karnon here. This is a influence blast build. This is blast, not even viral, and like, that's what this does. That's what the Okina Incarnon does. And that's just blast. That doesn't have viral to help for damage or anything like that. Because you kind of need the viral damage from your dual Viciss. This is just blast. Granted, it's an Incarnon weapon, but you can see over here it's really kind of lacking when it comes to keeping up with some other influence weapons. And it feels very similar because they're both, you know, dual blades. So, what do? You do this. Boom, Melee Afflictions. Melee who? I don't remember this. Melee Afflictions was so good back in ye old day when it first came out. And everybody used it and it was perfect. And then once again, they nerfed Melee Afflictions for some reason. Once again, making AoE reign supreme. I don't even understand, because AoE weapons in Warframe are a problem, right? Don't get me wrong, they're a problem. You should not have such a reliance on them. In a horde shooter, I can understand why you want AoE weapons, but like, there's no reason at all unless you're specifically tank busting to use a single target weapon, and Melee Afflictions changed that. It meant we had something to really fight against the heavy units in battle, and we were able to use it against overguarded units, and then they just freaking nerf it, like they nerf it, right? So this, in this case, I think that Melee Afflictions is still useful. And I think that it is good just to increase the damage of mobbing things. As you can see over here, there's a lift attack on Swirling Tiger, and we have a ton of freaking attack speed. That lifted attack is going to be doing a lot of tick damage, right? And especially because we have gas and we have viral that are all stacking up on top of the slash procs that we're going to be getting, this is going to result in a lot of damage. I think that this build with Melee Afflictions is eons better than anything that you could do with Influence. Even though Influence might seem like it's killing enemies, you know, a bunch of enemies really fast, the DPS having from this is going to be much better. Not to mention the fact that it doesn't rely on having multiple enemies around you at the same time. This is just going to be able to kill enemies regardless, right? This is going to be able to kill tank units much easier. Not to mention that we are also able to use a hybrid build on this because we're not fighting for a million status procs. So, you know, combine this with something like Wrathful Advance on you know, a melee build, you're going to be doing a lot of freaking damage. Cast procs and Melee Afflictions really like each other. You get a whole lot of damage when it comes to them. So, yeah, I think running Afflictions is much more original and much more interesting and a lot higher damage when it comes to these melee weapons. I think that the Influence slot build is what everybody wants you to think is really good. This is going to give you quite a bit of damage. I forgot to mention I am using a stance forma on the stance. So you do that, you change it. The reason is I hate carving mantis. I hate crossing snakes. Swirling Tiger is great. It's the OG. I remember back in my day using normal Valkyr in the void with dual Ichor, and on my PlayStation 4, I had recorded a YouTube video called Warframe, When You Know You're OP, where I had the Berserker buff, the old Berserker buff, which was like crazy amounts of attack speed, Jesus Christ, and I had Warcry with some kind of strength buff, and I could melee as fast as I could freaking tap it. That is why I like Swirling Tiger, because, yeah. It also procs Afflictions really good with one of its combos, so we do that. I also forgot to mention that the heavy attack from Dual Blades will also knock enemies down. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Knocks enemies down, you get these silly little Affliction procs off them. You can see, like, instant 10 stacks of gas is pretty cool. So having Tennokai of your Afflictions is really, really nice. It's basically going to mean you're going to one-shot that target. Anyways, that was a little nostalgia trip when it came to the dual Viciss, or Viciss, or fucking whatever they're called, I don't know. The attack speed is really good, actually. Quite a bit of attack speed. I appreciate that. I also do have Arcane Strike on my Valkyr, so DPS might be a little bit different for you. But overall, with Afflictions, I fuck with it. I like it. Afflictions, please give it back to overguarded enemies. I miss it. I miss it so much. But yeah, this is a build. Not anything super interesting going on. We are running a hybrid build, so we have Blood Rush, Galvanized Steel, Galvanized Elementalist. You might be thinking, oh, we could just use like Organ Shatter or something, but this is 120% critical damage. This is only 90. Oh god, I'm dying. Yeah, viral, Weeping Wounds. It's good. It's good. It's good. If I could, I would put more range on it. I think that having range on an Afflictions weapon is going to help you quite a bit. However, the follow-through is 50%, which is not like super duper great, which is standard for longer and larger weapons. Normally, the smaller a weapon is, the greater the follow-through is on it. So I don't know what they're cooking here, but damage has been pretty good. So use this build. Don't go for silly influence build unless you're like super meta or something like that. I don't know. This is more fun to me. This does more damage for me. But yeah, I think that's everything that we need to go over. I think we're done. Yeah, the freaking overall, I really like the Jupiter. I really like the Purgator. These things, the melee, the dual vices, or I don't know, man. Whatever they're called. You know, kind of. I don't know. I think I like them. The Mars can. I don't want to talk about the Mars. The Mars is like, you know, the weird family member we don't bring up at gatherings because he did that weird thing that one time and nobody ever speaks to him. Yeah, that's what we say about the Mars. Please, dear God, just outros suck. I don't even know how to